So first of all, welcome to now the second in our series of our technical interview tune-ups, exclusively held for the School of Data Science here at Udacity. My name is Karen Baker, and I'm a community manager here on the careers team, and I'll be moderating today. I'm joined by Eli Kasselstein, who's on chat. You can give a little wave, and he'll be fielding any questions that you have there. We're here today to learn and to practice practical techniques that you can actually apply to any technical interview questions. And we're very excited to get into it. So let me give you a quick overview of what to expect. And so here's who's in the room, and here's today's goal. So our goal today is to practice. It's to get proven techniques that you can apply to any technical interview that you'll encounter. It's to actually bite the bullet and go ahead and practice interviewing. And it's to build your interviewing muscle in a supportive environment. So everyone knows that they should practice, but I think the hardest part is actually putting yourself out there and making the time and doing it. And that's what today is all about. How this is going to work is that we're going to have a quick presentation that will give you the building blocks of how to approach any technical interview question. Then we'll have a few minutes for Q&A on any other questions that come up on the technical interview, followed by our favorite part, breakout sessions. And this is where you'll be broken into groups of about 4 to 6 people for some mock interview practice, where you'll actually get to apply the techniques that you've learned through the presentation. We'll come back as a full group at the end to debrief and go over what we've learned, and then talk about next steps and how we can continue to practice and continue to get better even after this session. And so I have a few tips for getting the most from today. So the first tip is to turn on your video, because as we know with any interview, it's not just how you respond and what you're actually saying, it's also your presence, right? It's your body language, it's your expression, it's the energy that you're giving off. And so because we have Zoom, I challenge you to put yourself out there and turn on your video so that people can see you and you can get feedback that can help you do better in any interview. And the next one, because we're going to be practicing, and it's not just you sitting there and listening to us, but you're also practicing as well. We want to make sure you're in a quiet environment. So if you've got your doors open, now's a good time to close them. Windows open, now's a good time to shut those, and make sure that people can hear what you're going to be saying. Then the next one, get on your laptop. If you're on your phone, if you can, it's good to have a laptop handy or another screen handy, because we'll be sharing a Google Doc where you can see actual instructions for the breakouts. And we want to make sure you can follow along. So if you have another screen handy, now is a great time to pull that up. And then finally, one of my biggest tips is to share your LinkedIn profile in the chat so that you can connect. And this is because this session is not the goal, right? The goal of this is to find someone that you can practice with again and again and again. Because the more you practice, the more confident you'll be. And the more confident you are, the better you'll perform in the technical interview. Everyone on this call today is here because they're either a student of a data science program at Udacity or an alum, a graduate of a data science program at Udacity. And you all want to practice and get better together. And so who better to practice with after this call than those people who are your fellow classmates right here. So I encourage you throughout the session to put into chat a link to your LinkedIn and connect and find someone that you can practice with after today. And so without further ado, let's get started and go to the presentation. Our presenter today is none other than Carl Ward, who's a senior data analyst here at Udacity, and he'll be presenting on clarifying the question. Carl, take it away.
Thanks, Karen. Hi, everybody. I'm Carl. I am a data analyst at Udacity. My original background is in mechanical engineering, but I came to Udacity and kind of transitioned to computer science and data science. Right now I work on analysis of our classroom and notification products, trying to do our best to maximize graduation rates and do the best for our students. Over the years, I've been an interviewer for a ton of different roles and more candidates than I can count. For data analysts, data engineer, data scientists, and some management roles. So of course, for all those, I don't always ask the same question, but there are definitely commonalities and things I'm looking for on any kind of technical interview. And in this session, I'll go over those and then hopefully demonstrate them in a little practice session. Okay, building blocks of a great interview answer. First of all, understand the question. This is critical. You cannot give a correct answer to a question without understanding it first. And the key to that is well, stopping a little bit, thinking, asking clarifying questions, and also kind of considering why you're being asked that question. What is the interviewer, what do they want to know about you? What are they trying to test? That kind of thing. Second, be explicit, fully developed, and clear details. Very important. You need to be very clear what you're saying. You want to state your assumptions if they apply. You want to be engaging, and yeah, that way you can engage with your interviewer. They will understand what you're saying, and they might give you hints, because if they know where you're going, they can help guide you, and they know that you know where you're going, what you're talking about. And finally, enjoy being there. It's not just about your skills. It's about you. It's about enjoying it, having fun, showing that you're a good candidate and you would be great in this job. Okay, with that said, let's get to a little practice session. So my colleague Eli is going to be the interviewer. He's another data analyst at Udacity. And I will be the interviewee, and we'll go through a little model choice question, a machine learning kind of question.
Okay, Carl. Let's say you are working for an online retailer, and one day your boss asks you to design a model which can predict whether sending a customer a coupon code will result in them purchasing a product. How would you handle this sort of scenario?
Thanks, Eli. I think this is a deceptively tricky question. The first thing I would want to know is, what is the actual end business goal for this model? Like, what are we trying to accomplish with it?
Yeah, so let's say the goal here is just to increase revenue.
Okay. Yeah, so if the goal is revenue, then we can't just have any model. We have to think about whether, those people who are going to buy the product anyway, probably don't want to give them a coupon because we lose a little bit of revenue with the coupon discount. And then the people who definitely aren't going to buy a product don't really want to, add spam to their inbox with something that they're not going to use, just adds noise. Maybe they won't answer a different email from us, something like that. So we need a model that can output probabilities or confidence, something like that, to find a sweet spot. The next thing I think I'd want to know is just more about the products and the business. How many products do you offer, and do you care about one more than others? Is it okay, with this coupon, do you care what the customer buys with it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's say we just offer a couple of products, let's say 3 products, and we don't really care about which one we sell. They're all kind of equally important. So the product itself doesn't matter.
Okay. So to me, that says, that kind of makes things easier for me. Like I was weighing kind of two paths there, either going with a recommendation system, with, if there's tons of products and we have user data, or just like a regular classification algorithm. And the fact that there's, that you don't really care what product they buy, that means I don't have to worry about multiple classes of, an algorithm that can predict multiple classes. I can just do a kind of a yes or no. And again, that opens up my possibilities. The last thing I'd want to know is, maybe the most important, like what is the data like? I guess I'd assume you'd have data on past purchases for the customers, right? And their activity on a website and clicks and stuff. Do you have anything about the products as well, like any kind of metadata?
Yeah, you're correct. Let's say we have data on all of the past purchases from the users, and then we also have some data on their website activity, so like their session data, and then we also have some metadata on our products, so things like the product description, the price, the category for each of our products.
Hmm. Okay. Um, hmm. So the fact that you have like a lot of product data is kind of intriguing as well. Like that could lend to collaborative filtering approach, back to recommendation systems. But that is that can get pretty complicated. I think maybe if I was a first pass at this, I would stay with a classification algorithm. Maybe do like a kind of an A/B test with email to see how well it works, how hard the problem is, and then go on from there. And yeah, I think that's a good place to stop this practice session. As you could probably tell, this could go on and on and on. We could go into like how I'm gonna, I haven't even narrowed down my choice of algorithm yet, but then we can go on to how I'm gonna collect data, what features I'm gonna build, how I'm gonna evaluate it, what evaluation metric. So yeah, hopefully you can see that, clarifying questions are really important. Yeah, can we go to the next slide? Oh, yes, okay. So yes, let's go back to how I applied these 3 building blocks. Understanding the question. The question was actually, we picked it because it's not really a good question. It's pretty vague, but I think that's pretty common. You'll get a question that's a little bit vague, and the interviewer probably knows what they want, but they haven't really provided enough detail to answer it. So the only way I could really answer this question is to ask clarifying questions. And I asked a couple, but there gets to a point, especially with these kinds of questions, where I just keep asking clarifying questions, and the interviewer might think, hey, he doesn't know what he's talking about, or maybe he's stalling. So at that point, you kind of want to switch gears and just state assumptions. Assume stuff about the data, about the business, or assume that like this complicated model, assume you'd be able to deploy this in production, blah, blah, blah. And if it matters, your interviewer would kind of stop you and say, yeah, maybe don't assume that, assume something else, and then you can just change directions and you can keep the flow rather than, just asking tons of questions. But of course you do need clarification questions initially. That should probably be your first thing, unless it's a very clear statement, which is almost never the case. Again, be explicit. Especially if you have a choice of, if it's like unsure, like what direction you want to take, maybe mention a couple of directions and state why you'd want to take that direction versus another. And then again, maybe your interviewer will give you a hint about maybe they want you to take a certain direction though. As long as you justify your reasons, they might guide you. You might help you out. And finally, yeah, enjoy being there. It's not just about skills. It's about you. Maybe the question is kind of like a real world question that they're working at their business, and or something related. And as they're asking it to you, they're looking at you as someone, as a colleague who could help them with that question, who they'd work with. So you want to be someone they would like to work with. So yeah, enjoy it, show enthusiasm, show how much you know, really, try and sell yourself as an ideal candidate, not just, that stuff about machine learning. Yeah, and I think with that, are there any questions?
Yeah, I think this is a great time. If you have a question for Carl, go ahead and put it into chat, and I might actually see if we have any already. So we have one question, which I think you spoke to, is, would that question that you demoed be a typical one that you could expect in a data analyst interview? Similarly vague, let's say?
Vague questions, yes, unfortunately. I mean, not everyone spends a lot of time coming up with good interviewing questions. That type of like machine learning question, maybe not always. It depends, on the kind of data analyst role. A lot of them, you may not need any machine learning. It might be more of like an experimental design question, a statistics question, which we're also, covering in our mock interview sessions.
And here's another question that has come up in the past. What should you do if the interviewer asks a question and you have absolutely no idea? You just don't know how to respond or how you'd even get started. What do you do then?
I would still try and, if at all possible, ask clarifying questions. Yeah, and that will give you, that should give you a better idea. Yeah, if you have no, even if you ask a bunch of questions, you still have no idea how to get started, you can ask for help. You can ask them, you know, ask for a little tip or, you know, where are you trying to head with this? And that should hopefully get you started. But first, I would say ask a clarifying question, one or more.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Carl. And Carl and Eli will still be here during the next session, which is our breakout sessions. So why don't we go to that? So now I'm very excited to go over how this is going to work with our mock interview breakout sessions. So here's how it works. In the chat, Eli will now put in a link to your session guide. And this is something that you should have in your reminder email as well. But this is where you'll open up that link and you'll get essentially the same instructions here, but you'll be able to have it during your sessions. I am, after this, going to break you all into breakouts, or so groups of about 4 to 6, 3 to 5 people. You'll get a pop-up on your screen that says you're being invited to join a breakout, and just click accept or okay, and that will take you right where you're meant to go. And once you get into your groups, we'll have about 30 to 35 minutes for these interviews. And here's how we recommend you do this, is that first, as with any good interview, technical or not, start with introductions. So start by introducing yourself. Each person should have about 30 seconds to give their name, their location again, and your nanodegree program. And I want to make sure that everyone in that group has a chance to introduce themselves. If you don't have audio, then that's okay. Just put into chat that you're listening in, and that's fine. Then, once you know who each other are, you're going to go and choose roles. So because this is a mock interview, we have a few special roles. One is the interviewer, who's going to ask the sample question. One is the candidate, who has the lucky opportunity to respond to the question. And then everyone else is going to be an observer. And this is actually one of the most important roles, because today is not just about doing it, not just about practicing, but actually observing what works, what doesn't, and being able to give each other really helpful, constructive feedback, something that you might not be able to see yourself as you respond to a question. And so then you'll have about 10 to 15 minutes to hold that mock interview with the sample question, and then debrief how it went, how everyone's feeling, what you've learned, and give feedback to the candidate. And this is something where everyone will pitch in. Now, if you get stuck, don't worry, raise your hand. You'll see this option in your breakout session, and Carl or Eli will hop in. We'll be all hopping between sessions. So you won't be on your own. And then if you finish early, then that's a great chance for you to swap roles and have someone else play the interviewer and someone else play the interviewee. In the document that you should have open now, you'll see extra questions so that if you finish early, you can go on to the next question and have someone practice responding. And again, I want to emphasize that today's goal is not about getting the right answer. Today's goal is to practice. It's to practice working through interview questions. It's to practice stepping out of your comfort zone, to step up and to speak up. It's to practice how you present in an interview, what your body language is, eye contact, and so on. And so we want to make sure that throughout, we're all paying attention to each other and listening attentively. And that at the end, for the debrief, we offer each other really thoughtful feedback, not just, oh, you did great, or, oh, that could be better. But try to be as specific as you can so that each person knows what exactly they can do more of to be better, or do less of to make a better impression. And so with that, I'm going to put here our very long mock interview question. I think Eli or Rui will also put it into the chat, so don't worry about that. And if you have that document open, you'll have this as well. And so the mock interview question for today that all groups are going to be going over is this. We are interested in testing whether or not a new style of crosswalk whose lines are painted to look like they have 3 dimensions will result in fewer pedestrians getting hit by cars. And this is compared to an older, more traditional style of crosswalk whose lines are simply rectangles. Over a period of 6 months, crews that are sent to repaint crosswalks are randomly assigned to paint them in the new style or the old style. And police reports will provide counts of incidents where a car hit a pedestrian in the year after a crosswalk was repainted. And so that's quite a long question. You will have it in that document that you should have open now. And so the prompt, or what the question actually is asking, is for you to write the null and the alternative hypotheses that fit the question of interest. So everyone has their work cut out for them today. And when it comes to giving feedback on that mock interview with that question, we're going to ask you to evaluate on 3 different pieces. One is specificity. So how well did the candidate actually answer the question and explain their thinking? Then intelligibility, or could the candidate be heard and understood? Was it easy to follow their train of thought? And then finally, body language. How well did the candidate engage with the interviewer non-verbally, both in eye contact and expression, body language, and so on. And so with that, I'm going to break everyone into breakout groups. And this is a process that takes about 30 seconds for the pop-ups to appear and everyone to get settled. So I ask you to be patient. And again, we're going to have so much fun with these breakout sessions. I'll see everyone back here in about 30 minutes. So we are going to do, and I'm going to ask that you put yourselves on mute if it's the case that you're not speaking. Here we go. Okay, and I'm going to stay in this main lobby area while everyone is in a breakout room. So if you're having trouble joining a breakout room and you're still here, let me know and I'll go ahead and assign you.